I was dreaming of a kind of love that came in a different packaging. And had I not been aware, I would have been like, that's not my packaging. That's not my gift. Bye-bye. Return to sender. So let's separate the packaging from the substance. Hello, sunshine, and welcome back to Paradigm Shift with Ayandastood, a place where we reframe what is and reimagine what could be. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let's paradigm shift together. I just want to remind you that you are so precious, you are so magical, and you have not even begun to taste all the love that this universe has to offer you. There is so much love ahead of you that comes in so many shapes, textures, forms that are beyond your wildest dreams. I truly believe that. There is friendship coming your way. There is deep connection coming your way. There is deep love coming your way. And what I want to invite us into is to remove any sort of conceptual barriers between us and love. How can we reframe what makes us feel unlovable as what qualifies other people to love us? If there's something that you feel no one will ever accept about you, then that is the bar for loving you. And I know it seems like, no one will ever be willing to climb that bar because I don't have evidence of that now. I promise you, we live in a universe that is so much bigger than any of our imaginations. And so just as there are things outside of your current perception that do exist, there is love outside of your current imagination that will exist for you. Today, I affirm that for you. I manifest that for you. And the love of my life has come to me in the realm of friendship. And so I'm really manifesting that for you as well. Today, we are in Act 2 of our conversation on romantic longing. We are speaking to that pain, that craving, that yearning for a romantic partnership that we currently don't have access to. We are tapping into all our dreams for how we want to be loved and how we want to give love, all the cute and precious fantasies that we've created in our imaginations. And we are saying, okay, we are going to integrate and accept our longing instead of trying to reject it and deny it. We spoke about that a lot on Act 1. And we also spoke about the fact that longing is love. Longing is erotic energy. And it would be such a shame to not let that longing live somewhere, to not let it flow through us in a loving way in some way. So for example, the longing that I feel for romantic love is something that I'm also channeling into the way that I interact with you and speak to you. And I think there's romance in so much of our lives, or there could be. And it's about how can we define romance for ourselves, and then with that definition, realize that it's much more available than we originally had thought. So I'm very excited because in Act 2 of our conversation, we are going to let the curtains rise, ta-da-da-da-da, and what we are going to reveal is a forest, okay? A forest on stage. There are trees, there's lemon trees, there's peach trees. Imagine trees that bear no fruits but are just as relevant. There are sunflowers, there are roses, there's every kind of flower. There are butterflies that are flying around, and there are birds chirping, making their own nests, and it's just a majestical forest. And we're going to speak about why this is a forest on stage in a moment. But first, babe, I want to read you a poem, if you shall be so kind as to allow me to do that. I want to read you a poem. Also, if you're watching this on video, I know that the lighting keeps shifting. I have no idea why, and I'm trying not to let it bother me. So the universe is just testing how strong my love for you is. Okay, anyways, so sit back and relax. Take a deep breath if that's accessible to you. And if you're driving, of course, stay alert. And I'm very grateful to be accompanying you on your journey, our little date together today. So the poem is named Idea, and it's by a poet named Kate Baer, and I found it while researching for this episode. Okay, listen in. Before I read you this poem, I want to tell you that let's think about this forest on stage. And if we imagine the forest as an allegory for love, a metaphor of love, we see that love is abundant. Love has so many different manifestations. And as I said, love is made to be scarce in our world. But there are so many different kinds of love. You know how scientists study different species and different organisms. There are so many different species and types and kinds of love that exist on our universe. We could say there's the love shared between friends, and then there's the love shared between parents and children who are loving. That's not even capturing the fullness of how many species of love there is. I feel like if we were to really study and document love seriously, we would be able to see, I know there are languages where there's like 26 words for love, for example. And so I just think that there are so many different kinds of love. The forest represents how every single love is fruitful and abundant and has its role to play in the ecosystem of life. And yet we are pedestalizing romantic love. And I know that we yearn for it and we crave it. But how can we open our eyes to the abundant love in our world, in our universe, that's calling us in, or that we can call in, as we spoke about, being in the practice of being loving, being a force of love in this universe through our art, through the way we relate to people, through the way we treat people, through who we reach out to and how we do so, through the way we exist as a manifestation of love on this planet. So we get into a very psychically dangerous situation when one form of love is put on a pedestal, is put in the top of this hierarchy that shouldn't exist. There is a quote by Bell Hooks that's so short and so powerful. She says in the book Communion, "Value all deep bonds equally." And I think that tells us so much. Value all deep bonds equally. What does that invite you into? What is a deep bond that you maybe value less than a romantic relationship, either conceptually or if it's in your life already, then in your life? And finally, I want to read you this poem that I found while researching for this episode, because research should not only involve the facts as defined by the scientists, but the love as defined by the poets. This poem is called Idea, and it's by a poet named Kate Baer. Okay, I hope that you enjoy it. I will enjoy this life. I will open it like a peach in season, suck the juice from every finger, run my tongue over my chin. I will not worry about cliches or uninvited guests peering in my windows. I will love and be loved. Save and be saved 1,000 times. I will let the want into my body, bless the heat under my skin, my life. I will not waste it. I will enjoy this life. So I want to let those words trickle into your soul, into your spirit, into your body. And I also want to share why they mean so much to me. And I want to go into the lines of the poem and really unpack what I am hearing. And you may hear something else. And I wish we could create a collage, a mosaic of all that we hear together and interpret this poem collectively. I think it speaks to this insistence on enjoying life in spite of the narrow opportunity for enjoyment that is laid out by the cliches, by the status quo. It's an insistence on sucking every drip of life juice and of eros that life has to offer us. I will enjoy this life. I will open it like a peach in season, suck the juice from every finger, run my tongue over my chin. It's just savoring. It's not letting any drip of life go to waste. I will not worry about cliches. It's like I'm not going to judge how well my life is going according to this romantic paradigm or this paradigm or that paradigm that is trying to impose itself on me. And then when it says, or uninvited guests peering in my windows, I view that as a commentary on the judgment of others, often our friends, often our family. But people who are uninvited, we have not invited them because we are only inviting people who are there to support us, who are there to just observe and enjoy and celebrate the way we unfold in each moment and the way that the moment unfolds us. I will love and be loved, insisting that in spite of not matching or feeding into the cliche, I will know love and I will know what it is like to be loving. And I think that is so, so powerful. This is a forest of love. Just because the oak tree of romantic love is not something that may be fully accessible, I'm not going to ignore all the other love that can exist in my universe. I will insist on love. I will take the longing that I have for romantic love, in our case, she's not saying this, and I will channel that into the insistence on love being at the center of my life. And then she says, I will save and be saved 1,000 times. And the reason why I think this line is so powerful is there's so much rhetoric or language around, I don't need anyone to save me. And this complete rejection of dependence, that it's embarrassing, it's not okay. Detachment, right? I see so many people coaching you on how to be detached. And I think that always there's a wisdom of contradiction. It's never that something is completely wrong, but you have to have the counterweight, right? We cannot have a world full of detached people. We see what that amounts to. We need to attach. We need sensitivity. We need caring, and we need saving. It's okay to need salvation. And in fact, romantic love is a paradigm where many people do feel saved. They do come to understand that they are lovable through that paradigm, and the opposite. But this insistence that I will save and be saved is so precious because it acknowledges we all actually need saving. You know, we talk about our healing journey. The idea of healing and the idea of being saved, they're very related. I do believe in many ways my best friend saved me, because I didn't even realize how emotionally isolated I felt, because although I had close friends, I didn't have an everyday friend. I didn't have someone who knew the minutiae of my days. I didn't have someone who cared to know how I was unfolding every single day. My littlest thought is his greatest curiosity. And that saved me, because I've always felt like I'm a good listener. You know, I'm the one who listens. And it's not to say that I've never made friends who are amazing listeners, but we're not everyday friends. Like, we don't speak all the time. And I think each friendship, just like the seasons, has its own cyclicality, has its own rhythm, has its own seasons. Some friends you see every year. Some friends you speak to every few months. You have to find your rhythm. And unfortunately, this is often not found through communication on, right, what are your needs? What are my needs? What are your, constraints? What are mine? It's more just like what ends up happening, however frequently the other person or you respond. But with him, it's like this daily sharing of my inner world. And I think that is something that I believe we all need. When I think about loneliness, realizing how it's not just that people feel literally alone, because I felt very lonely especially when I moved to the US. Oh my word, it was so painful. And yet I was surrounded by people. It's that there's no one who you truly feel like understands you. So you feel like you are always isolated emotionally, even if you are not physically isolated. And then there are people who experience both, the compounding effects of both the physical isolation and the emotional isolation. There's also ideological isolation, where you feel this loneliness because no one around you has your same values, and you can't have the types of conversations you want to have, and you can't obsess over the same things you're obsessed over. So you're creating this whole world and you're occupying it. You're listening to podcasts. Someone was mentioning on my Substack, she listens to all these incredible podcasts that are feeding her aliveness, feeding her curiosity, her eros, but she has no one to talk to about those podcasts. That to me is such a form of isolation, because we need to have a shared world with at least one person in our lives. And so many of us do not have that. So the reason why this is related is I will save and be saved. We can save each other. We have to believe that. A friend can save you, and you can save someone by treating them in a way that they are not used to being treated as. You can save them. You can save them from their low bar for what love should feel like. You can save them from their experience of what friendship can feel like. You can save them even from assumptions that they had that turn out to be false. Like my best friend always says how he always kind of assumed that he was too much. And our friendship has saved him from that notion. He knows now you're never too sensitive. You're never too loving. You're never too curious. But you just haven't met someone who can meet you at your level of sensitivity, at your level of curiosity. And so I think that taking away this individualistic language around, I don't need anyone to save me. I don't need anyone I just want to detach. I don't want to care. Like, that's never going to be me. And I would bet that if you're listening to this podcast, that's not us. Like, we are the opposite of indifferent over here. Like, we do care, but the paradox of that is that sometimes gets us hurt because we're out here in like one-sided friendships or one-sided experiences where we are listening and we are caring, but we don't necessarily feel listened to or cared for in the way that we are seeking. So I love this, just acceptance. We all need saving and we all can save. It's both the practice and it's the ability to receive. Okay, and she says, I will do that 1,000 times. So that's again the abundance of the forest. That there are so many ways that we can love and be loved. There are so many ways we can save and be saved. Have you not ever had just one little person, one stranger say something to you and just save you? Yesterday I was feeling so hard on myself for being, inconsistent with this podcast. And even though I know I'm not a machine, I deserve rest. I mean, things happen at their own time, divine timing, the universe, all of these things. I was feeling a sense of disappointment in myself. And I like to sit with my feelings and not try to rationalize them away, because that disappointment is energy that I need to listen to. It's a voice within me that is telling me, okay, babe, like, you don't feel good when you do this. There was also a voice telling me like, oh, this is a lesson to learn how to love yourself, even when you are not acting in the ways you feel you should. And I had spoken to my aunt earlier in the day, and then later in the day, she said to me, you really opened me up today. I feel so good about our conversation, and you're so easy to talk to, and you're such a good listener. Thank you so much. She's kind of on her path of refinding herself in her 60s and just refinding her self-esteem and her self-worth. And it was just so precious for her to share that with me, that I had that impact with her. I really feel aligned when people say things like that to me. Like, thank you so much for listening. And that's also why I'm really excited to get into the interview episodes next year. I just had to take a break from them, and I'm soon going to be sharing an episode on my process and thinking with that. But anyways, all I want to say is a little thing that someone says to you one day can save you. A little text that they send you. Someone texts you out of the blue, I was just thinking of you. You're like, you think of me? I didn't know that. Oh my goodness, thank you. That's so precious. You've saved me, because now I feel a little more seen, a little more whole, a little more saved. Okay, so let me continue with this poem. I will let the want into my body. Now, this is everything we've been speaking about. It's saying, oh my word, it's actually like profoundly sensual and just vivid and really, really precious. I will let the want into my body. So I will not pretend, preclude, block wanting from my body, from my actual being. I will let it in. And you know that feeling, wanting is in our bodies when we like see something on TV and we're like, ugh, I want that. I want to be held like that. I want to be looked at like that. I want to be seen like that. I want to be regarded like that. I want that. We feel that in our hearts or in our bodies. And then there's a sexual wanting of like, oh, I want this person, or I want this experience. And if you are a sexual person, your sex life in your imagination, 100. Your sex life in real life, 0. Maybe negative 100. Like, babes, it's going down in the imaginations of the people and not much place else. Like, babe, if I was having the sex life that I have in my imagination, oh my goodness, wow, I think it would heal me. I think it would save me. I really think it would. So yeah, that lives in the body, that wanting, that craving, that yearning. And she's saying, because remember, she's saying she's going to suck every little piece of juice and little piece of, there's no piece of juice. She's going to suck all the juice out of the peach of life. And that includes the wanting. Because we want, we want. Okay, we desire, we long, we crave, we yearn. And we could say, no, I don't want that. I don't want that. Or we could just let the want in. Okay, I will let the want into my body, bless the heat under my skin. So again, I feel like this is eros, this is passion, this is craving, this is sexual energy in my mind, right? It's an embodied experience of sexual desire. And that's how I interpret it. You might interpret it differently. And I love that for us. As I said, I'd love to create a mosaic of understandings. And then she says, my life, I will not waste it. I will enjoy this life. And so what's really wonderful is she's finishing the poem how she started it. And so it's really kind of this sacred proclamation or this declaration. What is the other word that I'm looking for? It's not a declaration. It's not a proclamation. So I think it's kind of like a vow. I think that's maybe because you'd think of the idea of saying I do as like a vow, and she's making her vow, which is I will enjoy this life. And she is challenging that enjoyment doesn't have to exist in an institution that's been defined for you. So what I want to ask you, how can you define romance for yourself? What to you is a romantic moment, experience, relationship? What does it entail? If you had to really document, okay, I'm building a romantic energy, this is what it would comprise. So for me, let me tell you about my definition of romance. I would love to. Oh my word, I'd be honored. Okay, thanks for asking. So firstly, it is attention, a deep kind of attention. It's looking into each other's eyes, although I do struggle with that, but it is something that I've tried to work on. But it's also attending to the details of what someone says to you. Oh my gosh. Sexy, wonderful, precious. Like someone who is so in tune, not as in they are trying to predict, they are literally trying to get on your frequency. Everything you say to them is a world that they will not leave untouched, obviously with respect and with boundaries and all of those things. But for example, the people I feel closest to are the people in my life who are my best friends and who I instantly feel drawn to, are people who are deep listeners, like deep listeners. They're listening between the spaces of what you're saying, what you're not saying. They're referencing something you said last week. They're referencing something you said, 2 sentences ago. Earlier you said, what do you mean? You listen to me? Oh my goodness, stop. And I know it should be like, the bar is so low. No, babe. How many people on this planet Earth feel like they have one person in their life who truly listens to them? Literally, I feel like the world would be changed if we all had that. I think that when someone deeply is with me, like they're with me, as in they're attending to me, and obviously I'm just sharing what I receive. I love doing this. And that's the whole thing. I love listening to people, but I think when you're a good listener, or when you are a deep listener, that sometimes ends up feeling like one-sided. Like you are just there to be someone's sounding board or therapist, or I don't even know. And it gets tiring, it's an emotionally draining thing. And so when I meet people who are the same, who are deep listeners and who are like, I'm so sorry, I've been talking for so long. And it's like, they haven't. I'm like, keep talking, but it's so considerate because they don't want to dominate the conversation. They want to create like a shared world with you. And I always say that as well. I'm like, oh my word, I've been talking for so long. How about you, And then they're like, no, keep going. And I'm like, this is so sexy. I love it. So to me, that's romantic. And you may be like, why is that romantic? I think this is a personal question. You know what I mean? Like when Audre Lorde says each of us needs to define from within, based on all our experiences, what is erotic to us. And to me, there is nothing more erotic than feeling like, oh my word, you and me, space and time doesn't exist. We are here together. I'm the most important thing to you right now. You're the most important thing to me right now. We are in a cave, okay, of each other's inner world, and we are just trying to seek a deeper and deeper understanding and appreciation and love for each other. So that's attention. The next is affection. Obviously, affection, it's the way that someone speaks to you. So it's hi, my love. It's hi, babe. It's hi, angel. It's hi, my sunshine, babe, you. It's a way of affectionately speaking to someone. It's saying, I hope you sleep so well. How did you sleep? Like just someone who is lusciously caring about your life in a way that we are taught to only expect from romantic partners. So every single day, my best friend asks me, how did you sleep? And it's just like, that's so precious. It's what I was saying about how like, for me, intimacy has really become about the little moments. And can I share those with you? Can I share the minor inconveniences, the tiny pleasures? Can I revel with you in the details? That to me is intimacy. And so many of us are missing that. And if we think about living in community, how we were designed to be, we would know the minutiae of each other's lives because we would all be together. So we would know this person tripped over a rock on Tuesday at 9. Well, it wouldn't even be Tuesday and it wouldn't even be 9. But when the sun rose yesterday, this person tripped, and are they okay today? The minutiae of our lives would be instantly relevant, and there would be not entertainment to distract us. So we would be deeply enriched in each other's minute details. You know what I mean? And I think that's really, really intimate to me. And so there's the attention, there's the affection. Affection speaks to how we refer to each other. It speaks to how we speak to each other. So speaking to each other just with this oozing love, that comes through, that to me is romantic. The third thing is appreciation. Just someone who, they just really appreciate you, and they are really, really loving in their expressing of gratitude for you, and you are to them. Like, I love writing my best friend a letter on like how grateful I am to have him in my life. I love words of affirmation and affection and appreciation, just like this oozing language of love. And I think something that I think can be really romantic that I haven't experienced as much outside of romantic relationships or romantic sexual relationships is physical intimacy, like cuddling and those things. I haven't explored that in friendship, but I mean, that's cool. Like, hugs are wonderful. And like when someone rubs your arm, or I have one of my friends who, she's so physically affectionate. Like, she'll always just like grab you in this way that feels so nice and wonderful. And so I think that's really beautiful. That is an example of romance in friendship for me. And then the next pillar of romance to me is sexual. For me, it is this sexual feeling of just like desire, craving, intimacy, touching, just all of the things of really, really treating each other like just divine sexual energy. I don't know how to explain it. Letting the want into your body. And so now when we take romance and we take those pillars, even though with my best friend, that last pillar is not within it, it's still romantic to me because it has all those other pillars. And so it's such a personal thing. I would love for you to, instead of having this paradigm be defined for you, what does romance mean to you? When have you felt like, oh, I was actually in a romantic moment that time? So for example, I was dancing with my aunt the other day and it just felt so embodied and wonderful. And she was like, oh, we haven't danced together in so long. And I was like, that's romantic to me. So romance transcends any category of relationship to me, even though it may be difficult to wrap your head around, or like maybe you just don't agree, which is totally fine. But for me, it's really the idea that not everything is sexual. Some things are sensual. And for me, sensuality and romanticism are also very connected. Like, oh, I forgot that. Oh my word, I forgot that. So the sensual experience of like lighting a candle, how someone treats you, and can I get your coat? That's so sexy. When anyone does that, I'm just like, that's romantic. Or when someone is just going out of their way to bring a sensory experience into your world, burning a candle, burning incense, buying your friends flowers, or it doesn't have to be something you buy, writing a letter to your friend, experiencing something together, like watching a movie together can be really romantic, even if it's like with a friend. You know what I mean? That's what I believe. I remember one time when I was going for dinner with one of my best friends, and then she walked in and I was like, oh my goodness, she's mine. She is mine. She's not actually mine. But I was just like, like my heart swelled. And you're like, oh baby, you're secretly in love with her. It's not a secret. I am in love with her and she's my friend, okay? So like, no, it's not a secret. I'm in love with all of these people who I've just mentioned. Yes, because my heart is the forest. Like, it has space for so much love. And especially for these people who listen to me, who treat me with lots of affection, appreciation, desire, like they desire me. You know what I mean? They pursue me and I pursue them. Like, if you send someone a TikTok, are you not desiring them? You're making them feel like, oh, you matter in this universe and I'm thinking of you. And that's sexy. Morning texts, sexy. Evening texts, sexy. Romantic, desirable. You know what I mean? So that's how I feel. And I've said that like 12 times. You're like, okay, we understand. We love you and we support you, but we get it. So I would invite you to define romance for yourself. Let's break out of this media and capitalist and normative and heteronormative definition of romance. Let's define it for ourselves outside of any sort of paradigm of hierarchy and of normativity. Okay. The last thing I want to leave you with before we say toodles goodbye is, how can you remove the barriers that stand between you and love? And you're like, babe, if I could do that, I'd be doing it. What I mean by that is this. Sometimes we have deep conceptual barriers. I could never be loved. No one will ever love me. And I wonder if you could invite yourself to see everything that you think makes you unlovable as something that qualifies other people to love you. Everything you feel ashamed of or makes you unacceptable, unlovable is what qualifies other people. What tells you that, what gives you the peace of mind to know, okay, this person loves me because they accept this thing that to me is unacceptable. And I know you think that that is inconceivable. Babe, we live in an inconceivable universe, right? There are literally stars that we can only see because of the speed of light, okay, being so slow, therefore we can look into the past. Are you kidding me? Like, that's the planet we live in? There's literally gas that allows us to breathe. We are literally sustained by forces in our bodies that we don't even understand. We literally dream magical dreams and visions. We are living in the impossible. So we need to literally embrace the inconceivable. You know what I mean? It's like, just because I can only see these things doesn't mean outside of my line of sight there isn't so much more. So what I want to invite you to is, there are things far more impossible out there than you being loved and you receiving the exact love of your dreams. Yes, babe. It's not actually impossible. Let's remove the conceptual barrier and let's say stranger things have happened. That I can say with a fucking certainty. Stranger things have happened. Okay, so why not me? Why not us? And with that, when I say remove the conceptual barriers, I also mean, why not start to see that actually, what if there's even more loves than I was taught to even dream of and long for? What if this romantic longing wants to speak to me in a different way than the message that I was expecting to receive? And will I be ready to hear it when it comes? So for example, how did me and my best friend become best friends? He DM'd me about TikTok. We hadn't seen each other for 6 years. We went to college together. We weren't even that close in college. We had a great connection, but we weren't that close. Then 6 years later, he DMs me. He's like, how do you deal with all of this TikTok stuff? I'm a creator and I love all of your content. And I just want to ask you for your advice on the mental health side of TikTok. He sends me voice notes. I'm like, let's get on a phone call. We get on a phone call. So begins, slowly but surely, a desperate love affair. You know what I mean? A wonderful, and it was just like, it could be a movie of these two people side by side. Hey babe, on the phone, hours and hours, chatting. And so romantic love did arrive, but it didn't arrive packaged the way that I thought. And then that love trickled to my other friendships as well. And I started to be like, oh wow, romantic love is possible in friendship. So essentially, that was a conceptual barrier that I had. I was dreaming of a kind of love and I thought I knew how it would come. So let's separate the packaging from the substance. So I thought romantic love would come packaged as a romantic partner. It came packaged. The substance of it, though, was those things: the intimacy that I was craving, the feeling heard that I was craving, the affection, the attention, the deep attention, and the appreciation, and then the sensual experience of love, right? That came in a different packaging. And had I not been aware, I would have been like, that's not my packaging. That's not my gift. Bye-bye. Return to sender. So how can we remove the conceptual barriers, this lighting thing, oh my goodness, between us and being loved? Recognizing that the substance of our craving is what we should really be trying to define. I just want someone who really cares what I think about Mondays. You know what I mean? That removes the conceptual barrier because you now are like, okay, now I'm a level deeper. Now I know what it is about romantic love I'm actually seeking. Because it's not like, oh, I just want these words. There's something in the experience that I really want. And then within that, there's kind of like a ranking of what I want most. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would love to have a sexual relationship with someone, but that's not what I want most. What I want most is intimacy. What I want most is someone who carries and reflects and mirrors my fullest self to me, and I do that to them. What I want most is someone who I feel like deeply has my back. And ideally, I want more than one person. And I luckily am so grateful to say I do have more than one person. I focused on one of my best friends, but I have incredible best friends who really, really just see my higher self or my fullest self and love me for it and really see me and really seek to keep understanding me. And I know I'm really focusing on me. Yes, I do the same to them. I love them. I deeply seek to understand them. I deeply seek to show them love. But what I want to say is that that's the substance. And I'm okay with not having the sexual side. You could not be okay. You could be like, no, I'm not okay with that. I'm okay with it right now. I feel full. But yes, I do still long. I do long for all the things. And I want a space for the love of people to be like, yeah, we crave, we long. And here we are, craving and longing. So with that idea of removing the conceptual barriers between you and love and you and romance, and really starting to see it as something that is abundant, or really inviting you to see abundant possibilities. They may not have transpired. You may be like, but I can't base that in any fact. What if your eyes, your vision, your perspective, what if your heart and your eyes and your soul became more open to the idea of abundant possibilities of love, abundant possibilities for love, the forest where we started on stage, all the different kinds of love that could come your way. But if you're looking down at your phone in the forest, you're not going to get to experience. If you're looking up, and if you're embracing and you're staying open-hearted, which means accepting rejection, which means, accepting that some things will seem like a butterfly and be a hyena. I don't know what to say, but essentially just staying open-hearted and open-minded, sliding into DMs, responding to DMs, reaching out to friends that you've lost touch with, that you've always felt like, wow, we should actually be closer. Journaling to yourself, writing yourself love letters, treating yourself with that romance. That's something that we haven't spoken about on this podcast episode, but I believe that so much. I love writing myself a love letter. All the words you crave hearing from someone else, give those words to yourself. And I know that's not enough, but start there. Start writing to yourself exactly as you would want. Hi, my angel. You are so divine. And I love, love, love the way that you just find ways to challenge the romantic paradigm, to queer it in whatever way feels fun and flirty and interesting to you and accessible to you. Okay? It could be just waking up every morning and saying, I love you so much, my angel. And you're talking to yourself exactly how you want to be spoken to. That way, when another person comes along, you will know what it sounds like to be spoken to with love. Romancing yourself. I know that romanticizing yourself is something that is so prevalent in the culture, but I do believe, how can we romanticize ourselves, but in ways that are less tied to consumer culture and to the performance of romanticizing ourselves? Anyways, with this idea of removing conceptual barriers between us and love, I wanted to share with you this poem by Rumi. I want to leave you with this poem. Thank you for being here today, and I'm always so grateful for our dates. If I was with you, I would be burning candles. We would be in this sacred kind of container of intimacy and of sharing and of hearing and of being heard. So thank you for sharing this space with me. The poem is called Looking for Love. A strange passion is moving in my head. My heart has become a bird which searches in the sky. Every part of me goes in different directions. Is it really so that the one I love is everywhere? Is it really so that the one I love is everywhere? How can you start to see the one that you love, the one that you long for, the one that you are dreaming of, or the ones, how can you start to see them everywhere? I love you so dearly. I see the one that I love in you, and I hope that you see them in me. I'm sending you all the love today, and I cannot wait to see you on the next episode of Paradigm Shift with Ayandastood. I hope some paradigms have been shifted for you in today's conversation. As always, if you can, please leave a 5-star rating on Apple and Spotify. Like, comment, subscribe. I love you so, so much. Okay? I love you. Join me on my Substack. Links in the comment section. Go there. Okay? Love you so much. Love you. Bye.